Hello everyone and welcome back to round 4 for our draft retrospective series. We're nearing the end of the draft, and in doing so we have 6 more players to look at. If you haven't already, go watch the first 3 rounds, as there are terms in this video you won't quite understand unless you've at least seen the first few minutes of the first round video. Without further ado, let's get started. Round 4, pick 19, Simon Nichols. With the first pick of the 4th round, the Bethany Eagles selected balanced all-rounder player Simon Nichols. Simon Nichols had a particularly interesting season. He played 4 games made up of 2 sets of the same stat line. In weeks 1 and 3, he scored 11 points on 2 eliminations, and in weeks 2 and 6, he scored 2 points. He finished 32nd in total points scored, set the record for the fewest points in a single game, which he later tied again, and was dead last in every stat among rostered players. Averaging just over 6 points per game, Simon Nichols is unfortunately a round 4 reach. Round 4, pick 20, Ben Baird. With the 20th overall pick, the Highlanders selected balanced adapter player Ben Baird. Baird's top performance of the season was his first game in Week 1, Game 3, where he scored 9 points on 1 elimination. Following a 5-point performance in Week 2, Baird was subsequently dropped from the Highlanders, and knowing what happened next for the team, they probably wish they could have kept him. Still though, for playing just 2 games, among other reasons, Ben Baird is the 4th round second reach. Round 4, pick 21, Jacob Ham. With their 4th pick, the Wreckers selected technique survivalist Jacob Ham, known as one of the hardest players in the league to get out. Ham was an extremely peculiar season. Out of the gate, Ham proved himself to be a promising pick, scoring 20 points in his season opener. Little would anyone know that this would be the least amount of points Jacob Ham would score all season. Due to a cancelled game, Ham didn't play in Week 2, but he made quite the splash in Week 3, Game 4, when he had his best performance of the season, becoming the second and only other player to score 28 or more points in a game, when he scored 28 points on 11 eliminations and 6 regicides, barely losing Player of the Week honors, as Caden Fairhurst also scored 28 points, but on a better statistical record. He missed another game in Week 4, but boggled everyone's minds when he scored 26 points back-to-back in Week 5, and his Week 2 makeup game held that same week. He finished his season with another 22-point performance, landing him with the 5th most points scored in the entire league with only 5 games played. Even with being a game behind, he was 5th in total knockouts, tied for 3rd in total regicides, and 5th in adjusted points. How absolutely mind-numbing Jacob Ham's play was is really put into perspective with per-game stats. 5th most eliminations per game, 2nd most adjusted points per game, tied for 2nd most regicides per game, and the 2nd most points per game at just over 24 points every game. Add in 5th in point percentage, elimination percentage, and regicide percentage, and imagine what he could have done with the same amount of playing time as everybody else. Ham was voted as the Rose City Wreckers team MVP, and was selected to Pro Bowl honors, and won 3 of his 5 games. The 2 games that he didn't win, he was playing against Caden Fairhurst or Ryan Howman, and still came second in both of those games. Ham finished as a 4-time top 10 player and a 2-time top 5 player, and while he barely lost out in Week 3 for Player of the Week honors, despite having the 4th best game of the entire season, he did end up winning Player of the Week in Week 5 with his 26-point performances. Ham's incredible production makes him one of the easiest to define steals of the entire draft. Round 4, pick 22, Johnny Collier. With their 4th pick, the Shockwaves selected an incredibly similar player to Jacob Ham, Johnny Collier. Another technique survivalist player, Johnny Collier never scored lower than 19. In 6 games, scoring 20, 19, 21, 22, 20 again, and 24 in his best game in Week 5, Game 1 with 9 eliminations and 5 regicides. Collier was never a standout in the stat sheet like some of his fellow top teners, but he still held his own after finishing with the 3rd most points in the season. Collier had the 8th most eliminations, eliminations per game, elimination percentage, and regicide percentage, the 7th most regicides, regicides per game, and point percentage, tied for the 6th most adjusted points and adjusted points per game, and the 4th most points per game with 21. Johnny Collier was voted the MVP of the league champion team, earned a Pro Bowl selection, placed second in 2 matches and won 4, and made the top 10 every week of the season, being a 6-time top 10 player, 4-time top 5 player, and 3-time top 3 player, making him one of only 4 players to make the top 10 every week in the league, obviously making him a 4th round steal. Round 4, pick 23, Ryan Howman. With the 23rd overall pick, the Beaverton Ballers selected technique manipulator Ryan Howman, often regarded as the single most talented individual in the entire league. Similarly to Ham and Collier, Howman never scored below 19. 19 points in weeks 4 and 6, 20 in weeks 3 and 5, 22 in week 1, and his personal best, 23 points on 13 eliminations and 4 regicides in week 2, finishing with 2 second-place finishes and 4 first-place finishes in his 6 games. Howman finished with the 4th most points scored, with the 5th most points per game at just over 20. However, Howman's stat sheet production is legendary. He finished with the 2nd most eliminations and regicides and was 2nd for practically the entire season. He finished 2nd in eliminations per game, tied for 3rd in regicides per game and adjusted points per game, tied for 2nd in adjusted points scored, placed 4th in point percentage, and led the league in elimination percentage and regicide percentage, one of only 2 players to lead the entire league in a stat. Ryan Howman was unanimously voted Beaverton Ballers MVP, earned a Pro Bowl nod, and in addition, one of the league's 2 All-Pro selections. Howman was a 6-time top 10 player, one of only 4 in the league to be so, a 6-time top 5 player, one of only 2 in the league to do so, and a 4-time top 3 player. The league truly was betta with cheddar. Ryan Howman was a steal. Round 4, pick 24, Simon Carrick. With the last pick of the 4th round, the Aloha Gladiators selected technique survivalist Simon Carrick. Carrick opened the season with just 8 points, but never looked back, scoring 17, 16, 17 again, with a brief hiccup with 11, before finishing the season with his personal best 19 points in Week 6, Game 5, on 6 eliminations and 1 regicide. Over these 6 games, totaling 2 third-place finishes and 1 second-place finish. Carrick finished 15th in total points scored, averaging just under 15 points per game. At the award show, he was honored with the Comeback Player of the Year award, and while he's not a mega superstar, being drafted at the end of the 4th round makes him a steal. Those are the 6 taken in the 4th round. We've added 2 reaches and 4 steals to the draft board, totaling 8 steals, 5 good picks, and 11 reaches. The Shockwave continue to have the best draft class with 2 steals and 2 good picks. The Gladiators have the 2nd with 2 steals and 2 reaches. The Highlanders, Wreckers, and Ballers are all tied with the 3rd with 2 reaches, 1 good pick, and 1 steal each, and the Eagles fall to the worst class thus far with 3 reaches and 1 steal. We hope to see you again soon for the last round of the draft with the 5th round retrospective, and we'll see you then.